It was the three-legged dog of comics.
It was bad.
These two gentlemen met in jail, and then when they got out, they started publishing.
It should have been mobsters instead of doing what they're doing in comics.
Management there was questionable at times.
Some of it has to do with people who go to jail.
We are sinners. We have corrupted the youth. Stuff that should never have been sold to kids. And then there was Charlton. I couldn't quite tell what they were doing.
Charlton was just a hodgepodge of weird titles.
What is this? Who am I dealing with?
John threw nickels around like they were manhole covers.
CATAP. They were cheap.
Hell yes, they're cheap.
They were special kind of special is what they were.
Critic was horrible.
You could smell them beginning to decay even as they were rolling off the press.
At one point, they actually did have to move the comics operation into a bowling alley.
It's something out of a sitcom.
We want to publish comic books in the worst way, and they did.
It's been called the street-fighting cousin of Marvel and DC. Maybe you've heard of them. Probably not. But you do know the industry legends that called it home. This is Charlton Comics. Follow at charltonmovie.com.
Oh, it's gonna suck.
Hey there, this is John from Pino Comics.
And I'm Lloyd, also from Pino Comics.
And I'm the other John, and you get it by now. As you may know, we sometimes use language on this show that can be described as...
Filthy.
Okay.
Reprehensible?
Crude?
Sure.
Nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, guys. We all know that it's just plain out gutter talk.
You've been warned. Listen in.
All right, it's another episode of the Pint of Comics. We are here with you. I am John, and with me, as always, is the Manster. Manster, what's happening tonight, this fine Friday night, that you duped me into coming on early, thinking that I was going to chat with you before our recording, and completely and totally fucked me over. What's going on tonight, Manster?
Yeah, I really laid one on you, didn't I?
You not only laid one on me, so I tell you that our guests can't record till 7:45. You then tell me, well, I'm going to be out at 7:30 no matter what. So I'm rushing now. Oh, I get to talk to Lloyd for 15 minutes before the show. Not only were you not on at 7:30, our guest was early at 7:35. You were then late to the time that we had agreed upon no matter what. You were on at like 7:50.
This is what happens when you go out with your wife before a podcast.
I guess. There's a little something called COVID. You should probably be a little more careful with your gallivanting at this time, but that's okay.
Hey, we were wearing masks. No worries.
All right. I'm still a little disappointed.
Parents are fighting.
Yeah. Yes. Just stay in the corner, Dan, and shut the fuck up. Daddy will call you when we're done. And then later tonight, if you hear some amorous noises coming from Daddy and Mommy's room, go watch TV and shut up. All right.
Turn the TV
First of all, I spent the afternoon down at the river.
Oh, in a van, hopefully?
Yeah, there was a van nearby.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing that I do sometimes after work, since there's no, I don't really want to go to a bar or sit in a bar or anything like that. I grab a beer with a buddy. We go down to the river. We just hang out on the riverbank, 6 feet apart. Just
all right.
Hang out. Yeah.
It sounds nice.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice. Fun time. And then I came home and had to go out with my wife too.
All right. Did you get something good to eat at least while you were fucking me over? Did you have a decent meal?
I got a nibble platter.
A nibble? What is that? Is that a sex term?
Oh, that's later. No.
Okay.
Where did you guys go?
I don't know. Someplace with an elephant in the front.
I was on the live stream of our friend Keith, his show, Pizza and Pop Culture. He invited me to be on a live stream. I was on from 6 to 7, and I still had to eat dinner and then get on to be able to talk to my friend Lloyd. So
You're a better man than me.
I rushed off that wonderful show, having such a good time, too. We were talking, having a good time. And I said, guys, I got to go. I got to eat my dinner real quick, and I got to meet Lloyd because we're going to have some bro time. It's not down by the van, by the river bro time, but it's bro time. And you shut up 20 minutes late. Anyways, our guest this evening on this special edition of Pint of Comics, which is a 100-proof book project where we take a storyline a series, a graphic novel, a trade, whatever it may be, and we talk about it, is Dan Mercurio. You thought I was going to say Ano. Dan was on the radio show very recently, and I called him by the incorrect last name 67 times before. And I know Dan, and I know his last name. I called him Mercuriano. It is not take the on out. It's just Mercurio. Dan is the proprietor, CFO, janitor, chief salesperson, and I guess the shipping and receiving department at 1475 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike in Southington, Connecticut. Boom Tube Comics. If you know anything about the pint, you know that we hang at the tube. You know that we do videos of the tube. And Dan is the guy you see putting up with us. Dan, this is Dan's first appearance, by the way, on the podcast a year after he was an asshole and didn't show up the night that he was supposed to be on an episode. So if you're listening right now, here's what you're basically hearing. You're hearing the honorable Johnny Ganache. I'm almost Japanese. I'm so honorable, right?
You're so magnanimous.
I'm like 1600s Japanese living by a code, and I'm on the show with two assholes that blew me off. Dan, what's going on, man?
Hey, John, how's it going?
How's it going? It's going to hurt a little bit more real quick when I tell everybody that you didn't show up to the show last year because you went to see Shazam instead.
Your favorite movie?
I remember that.
Maybe maybe it's not me and Lloyd. Maybe it's you, John.
I'm pretty much of the same thought process. I'm starting to wonder, like, do people really like me? What's going on, John? What are you doing? But what can
Dude, we love you, man. You're great.
So This is an interesting 100 proof, right? So generally when we do these, here's a couple of examples. We did the first 9 issues of the DC 80s Suicide Squad, very well-known book.
Nice.
We did the first trade or first arc of Black Hammer, which is a kind of a popular book from Dark Horse that's about 4 or 5 years old at this point. We did a pretty well-known G.I. Joe arc. We've done Lazarus. So we've done books that have kind of run the gamut between really well-known and, kind of well-known. Today we're doing a book. You're not going to know what the fuck we're talking about. But
nobody's going to know.
Nobody's going to know. But we're introducing you to it. Now,
you're about to.
Absolutely. And here's the important part about the 100 proof that we don't always lay out there, because with a lot of these books like Suicide Squad from 1987, it's not as important to say it, but this is really important to say. There's always spoilers involved in these episodes. The book we are talking about tonight is out there on the shelves right now, fairly brand new. So once we get into it, if you are interested in this book enough to read it, skip this episode. Come back to it after you read it. Go to BoomTube. Go see Dan. He is listed on the company, TKO Enterprises, if you go to their website, as the only Connecticut retailer of their books. I don't know how true that is, or if that's maybe just they haven't updated, but if you go to their website, tkoenterprises.com, and go to find our books, go to Connecticut, the only one you're going to see this is Boom Tube Comics. So again, if you're interested in the book we're about to talk about, get off. Go buy it, check it out, then come back. We don't usually give those warnings, but this one is literally brand new, so that's fair, I think.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I have another correction for you.
What did I say now?
It's tkopresents.com.
Oh, is it? Well, that's okay. That's I think, is it? Okay. TKO Presents. Pardon me. I'm not perfect. Look at me. If the least egregious thing about me is that I say stuff like that wrong, then the rest of me is doing all right. Okay, I'm sorry. So it's TKO is the name of the actual company, correct?
Yeah, TKO Studios is the company. TKOpresents.com is the website.
Okay, so go to TKO Presents and you'll still see Dan's store, the only one that you can now go get these books at. I think that's going to change pretty soon. So Dan, why don't you explain to everybody out there a little bit about TKO, and then I'm going to go over to Lloyd. We'll talk about the book.
Okay, cool. So TKO, company that started at the end of 2018, founded by Salvatore Simone and Z Chun. I hope I'm saying these names correctly. Z Chun was, I guess, a writer and a producer on Gotham, the TV show. So they're basically taking a little bit different stab at releasing comics. They release trades and 6-issue box sets all at the same time. And so you get the whole story. You can binge watch it if you're like part of the Netflix generation of readers and you want to just get it all over with at once. They are super nice books, both the trades. I think the quality of the trades are very nice as far as the way they present. They're a little bit larger format than your normal book. And then the actual individual issues are also very nice. All cardstock covers. They come in a nice slipcase. It's really, really good company to deal with.
And how many TKO books do you have right now?
I have them all.
How many?
I have.
A dozen?
There's Sentient, Paradise, Goodnight Paradise, Pound for Pound, The Banks, Seven Deadly Sins, Sarah, Eve of Extinction, and then The Fearless Dr. Fang.
There's a lot out there, so whatever floats your boat, they're probably doing it.
Yeah. Westerns, sci-fi, mystery, World War II. Sarah, I guess, is a continuation of another story by Garth Ennis, and I guess it's like kind of like a World War II historical kind of story. I haven't read that one yet personally, but it's a pretty popular one.
Okay, so one thing I want you to dig into a little bit that you mentioned that I just want to wrap my brain around. So these books come out in trade format, but also in floppy format, although it's a larger cardstock floppy. But yes, all of the issues come out together. How does that work?
It's in a box set, so it's like a slipcase box set, and you get everything in individual, 6 individual issues, and you buy a box of it, and so it slips out. You can put it on your shelf with your regular books because it's in a slipcase, and then you put the issues back in it.
It's interesting. It's just obviously very different
with actual books.
Yeah,
rather than hide it in a short box or a long box somewhere.
Right, exactly. You get it's got a nice. I mean, we're not doing this on video, but you get a nice. You can put the blue side out, the black side for Sentient. So it looks just like a book sitting on your shelf, except it's 6 floppies.
All right, Lloyd, why don't you talk about the book that we read for this episode? And I know you're going to gush over Lemire for a while, so I'll go ahead, do that. I'm fine with it.
Just let me do it. All right, so Sentient is how you say the word, actually. Jeff Lemire is a writer. He's a Canadian comic creator. He's been active since around 2005. He put out his early stuff. He's worked for all the major companies and smaller companies. He's done stuff like Essex County, Sweet Tooth, Trillium, Black Hammer, Descender, Royal City. Let's see, for DC, he's done Animal Man, Green Arrow, some Justice League stuff. And for Marvel, Extraordinary X-Men, Old Man Logan, Moon Knight. I had to throw the Moon Knight in there for John.
Okay.
He did Bloodshot Reborn for Valiant.
Yeah.
And probably a lot more than that I'm just not even mentioning here.
Questions going on for DC right now?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. The Question. I think he did a Joker thing as well.
Yes, he's doing Killer Smile. Yeah.
Yeah. Art by Gabriel Walta, who did The Vision with, was that Tom King? He's done some Astonishing X-Men and Doctor Strange. And then Paul Mounts, I guess, is the letterer. I'll go a little bit more about Jeff Lemire. When he's not writing about folks wearing tights, his themes mostly kind of focus on family dynamics and relationships, stuff like that. So this particular book is a little new take on that concept, I would say. But, it still kind of falls in the same milieu of all that stuff. I don't know exactly all his Big Two's kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys confirm that kind of thing that he writes, for them as well. But
yeah, I think Lemire is one of those guys who's has a lot of his own ideas, and obviously proves that in his indie work. Trillium was great, and stuff like that. This was, we'll talk about this, but he also can kind of bring a very unique take on the superhero run too. And he also could write it like where it's not like some of these indie writers that end up at Marvel, they're very highfalutin, they're very like what's his name? Jonathan Hickman, right? This guy can't take a dump, without making it like a 76 part, very complicated thing. And Jeff Lemire can go and write Old Man Logan and just write really good Wolverine stories, where it's not necessarily, has to be too much of an indie sensibility or 5 times smarter than your normal comic book. So I like that about him. So tell us, Lloyd. Go ahead.
I have one question for Lloyd. It's Sentient.
Yeah, Sentient, like a SH in the middle. Sentient.
Sentient.
I had to look it up today because I keep saying it both ways in my head, and I know one way is right. So I looked it up for sure, just just to make sure. Sentient.
Right.
I'm going to continue to say sentient.
Okay.
It feels right. It feels right to me. All right, Lloyd, why don't you give us the, as we like to say on the show, now, what is this, 6 issues or 5? 6?
6 issues.
Give us the bumper sticker of what...
The bumper sticker?
The bumper sticker. What is Sentient all about?
Well, you've got a crew of settlers, future colony settlers, on board a spaceship, the USS Montgomery. They're leaving a soon-to-be uninhabitable Earth on board the ship, going to rebuild a new colony. And then a terrorist attack from a crew member who turns out to be one of these separatists who are basically out to undermine the whole colony thing. They've got their own agenda. She goes and kills all the adults on board, the whole entire crew. Before she does that, one of the remaining adults, before they die, ends up changing the ship's AI to kill her. So she dies, and all the kids that are left become the new crew. And basically, they're just trying to survive the perils of space.
Little rascals in space, essentially.
Wow, that's a long bumper sticker.
Lloyd was off the rails on that bumper sticker.
That was like the side of a van.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to redo it?
No, that's fine. I like your long bumper sticker.
No,
we just have nothing to talk about anymore. So that's Pint of Comics. That was Sentient. Dan, thank you for coming. No, we got plenty to talk about. So as Lloyd said, this thing begins on this ship. And it starts off with there's kind of 2 main little kids that we get to know. And those are Lil, right? Lily, I think her name is.
Yeah.
And it starts on her 10th birthday, I think, right? And then the other one is Isaac. And Isaac is kind of this, Lil is like a little happy girl. And Isaac is kind of this introverted kid.
Yeah, I thought it was really kind of like interesting in the beginning there when they kind of showed the drastic difference between Lil's relationship with her mother and Isaac's relationship with his mother, and what was going on the day of. One was like, "Oh, it's my birthday," and stop watching cartoons, and kind of like a normal everyday, and the other one was more like kind of militant.
Yeah, like yes, mother.
Cold.
Yes, mother.
Yeah,
okay,
cold,
mother.
and and I was like, oh boy, this is setting up Isaac.
You knew something was up already.
Yeah, Isaac ends up being the son of the woman who ends up killing everybody, and she's the separatist on this ship. She ends up killing everybody, and we'll get into that. But one thing about this book, and I don't know if it was meant this way or not, and I'm not getting trying to say oh, I'm smarter than this book, but did you guys have the feeling that they were trying to set you up that something was going to happen immediately, or was I reading ahead? Because as soon as I'm reading that dichotomy of what you're saying, like Lil's life with her mom, and then reading, I thought the artist did a great job because I caught a lot of looks from the mother character.
There were all kinds of clues and cues.
Yes, the second time I read it, I picked up much more on those cues, but you definitely felt like, I mean, originally when I first read it, I thought they were setting him up to be like damaged goods. He was going to end up being the villain. Right. Of the story. Really, I was like, oh man, this kid's gonna have some problems,
Yeah,
little
totally
do we know.
turn that on its head.
Yeah,
certainly not the villain.
But Waltha, the artist, did a great job because you really you could see in her looks to him that she had this look of regret as if she was doing something. Now, she didn't think she was going to die, and I'm sure she thought she was going to be able to take him on to this new life. But at the same time, she knew that to do what she had to do, she's going to be killing all these people on this ship and essentially, leave. Was she, I don't remember, did she plan on leaving the kids alive, or was she going to double back?
She was freeing the kids.
Right.
From the tyranny of, what's been going on Earth. Yeah, I thought it was a totally bad plan.
Yeah.
To put it mildly, here's this woman who just killed everybody's parents, and now she's going to be the new leader and not expect some kind of revolt from the kids.
Right.
That's a crazy plan.
Exactly. I mean, I was thinking that she was going to get all the kids as well. In the back of my mind, I was like, oh, maybe she's only going to leave her and her son alive, and they just want the ship. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'd never really even thought of that. As I was kind of reading it the second time, I was kind of like, oh, maybe she was going to be, like weed out maybe the older kids,
Right.
They were kind of like segregated in the story anyway. Like the older kids were doing everything, but the very young kids were still having like a normal upbringing, I guess, and then in the beginning, when he, not to backtrack, but in the beginning when he started talking about his mother or our mother, I thought we were talking about Lil's mother.
So did you guys both think the narrator was Lil until about the third issue?
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. Well, they set it up because they set her up as the quote unquote hero of the story. She's now the oldest. Her birthday just passed. Essentially what happens is after this coup happens and all the adults end up dead, then we get introduced a little bit heavier into the AI that runs the ship that now has had its, I guess you can call it prime directives or parameters changed, and is now acting like essentially raising these kids.
Yeah,
and
actually, like the prime directive has been shut off.
Right.
So she's kind of like weird, oddly maternal.
Right.
Yeah, it was Lil's mother that said something like, do what you have to do to save the children.
Yeah,
Basically, that was it. That was her only directive.
Yeah, there you go.
This AI is in control, just for sake of story, all throughout this giant ship. There's all these TV screens that she could communicate with the kids. There's all these kind of like rovers that she can control. It's very cool. It's very
right.
I kind of felt like it was a little bit like Hal. Val,
Hal, and her name is Val. Hal. Yep.
Yeah, and when I first read it, I was like, when I first cracked it for the first time, I was like, oh no, not another Hal, but it was way better than that.
Well, we get another Hal. We'll get into that later, but we do get the Hal.
And she does seem to like those rovers you mentioned, John, especially the ones with like the arms on them.
Yeah,
they look just like a dinosaur beak kind
of thing. A bird head, like a
long beak.
Yeah,
she takes control of those a number of times.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's how she shanks the mother.
With those.
Yeah.
What's that, Dan?
When she shanked the mother, and you turn the page and it's like a full page spread of the mother getting skewered.
Yeah.
Right from behind. Yep.
Yeah, because essentially all the adults are dying. Yeah, right in front of the kid, right in front of Isaac.
Right in front of the daycare.
Yeah, essentially all the parents are dying or dead, and they're trying to get to stop her, and they kind of override the parameters and do whatever you have to do to stop her. And the rover puts one or two of those things right through her, kills her. So that leaves us with all the kids now by themselves, and they're especially by themselves because the way the book starts, the ship is passing through a quadrant of space that is a year-long journey.
Right.
Where they're going to have a black zone. They're going to have no connectivity to communications for a year.
Earth or the colony.
Right. Either spot. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask both of you guys is, did either of you find it kind of weird? So the ship, I think that Waltha or if Lemire designed the ship, because Lemire, is an artist too, The ship reminded me not so much in shape, but of the Nostromo from Alien. It's a very bulky kind of cruiser. This thing seemed giant. Did it seem weird to you that they're taking what's over a year-long trip from Earth to this colony, and it only seems to have about 20 people on it, 25, 30 people? Did that seem weird? Did they ever mention that there was people in stasis? I don't think they did. It just seems like...
No, they never did that.
Yeah, it seems like, and I get it kind of, because if there was 100 people below decks, they, the drama of the story wouldn't be there. But I almost wish the ship was a little smaller. I know that's weird.
Yeah, maybe scale it down to fit the size of the crew.
It just seems like it would literally be like, I have to take a trip. Me and Dan and Lloyd are going to take a trip, up to Nantucket, and we get an aircraft carrier to do it.
Well, Lloyd and I would be late or no shows.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm never going to Nantucket with you assholes or Martha's Vineyard, either of the romantic islands up there.
I'll go to Block Island with you.
Block Island. All right. That sounds fair. Did either of you guys get we'll get back into the story in a second. Did either of you guys get, I did, a John Romita Jr. art vibe from this thing, especially the kids, the shape of the kids' faces, everything. I felt like, not everything in the art, I felt like that was very familiar to me.
I wasn't thinking that, but I can see how you would come away with that. I mean, yeah, it's a similar type style.
I personally, I didn't get that. I didn't really get any kind of vibe as far as the Walta art goes. I think it was very fitting for the story. I think with all the children in there, I did like it. It's certainly not like slick or fancy art,
No.
One thing that was interesting to me is it had a lot of earth tones, being a space story, a lot of brown and amber and like greens and stuff like that, which I think kept the story grounded as well.
Wow, that was deep, Lloyd.
He is. Ooh. He's very deep. I keep him for his deepness.
I've got no depth, believe me.
Shallow.
Lloyd's like an onion. He's got a lot of layers.
A lot of layers. That'll make you cry when you show 7:30 and he's not there.
Just when you think I'm a good guy.
So as this story progresses, we got the kids. They're now alone. And Valerie is taking an active role in essentially raising these kids. The older kids, she's given jobs to. The ship needs to run. So Isaac is very adept at computer stuff. So he's kind of in charge of like working on the computers and technical stuff. A couple of the kids are fabricators. What is Lil? What does she do again? She does
nothing.
Yeah,
Lil,
she does nothing, right?
She's the de facto leader because she's the oldest.
Right.
Yeah, but she's kind of like... Yeah, and she's kind of rebelling against Val a little bit because Val won't let her like pilot the ship to the fuel
real
station.
Things.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They end up at a fuel station, and she has this argument where I want to pilot the ship to the fuel station, and Val's like, we cannot afford a fuck up. Like, this is our last stop for gas until 17 light years from now. We can't afford a fuck up. And she's being a very petulant pre-teenager and saying, hey, I've done every sim perfectly. So she is essentially acting out against her, authority figure.
And we also should mention Isaac during this time is feeling really alone and isolated and sad because of, first of all, what his mother did. And second of all, a lot of the kids kind of come down pretty hard on him.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Lil, who he actually admits, I don't know, the second or third issue that he loves her.
Yeah, kind of, maybe a little bit later
maybe
on.
like a brotherly, sisterly kind of love, but he loves Lil, and she hates him.
Yeah, she straight out says to him, your mother did this, and who's to say at one point they have to trust him. And I don't remember what point that is, but they have to trust him. And they're like, who's to say he's not going to do it as well? And that's really interesting because these are kids. Kids, you would think don't generally have
when they're together. Let me tell you,
kids are shit when they're together. But sometimes, you don't think that deeply. You think, well, they're not going to equate the fact that this kid might be like his mom. These kids do. They're like, no,
they pick up.
Sure. His mother caused all this. He's going to do the same thing.
The thing that's different about the kids too is, they'll just like in the book, in real life, they just come out and say what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no holding back.
No. And I think the interesting thing about that whole section is like they really understand the gravity of the situation that they're in. Because, at first I was like, wow, how realistic is this scenario if these kids were really left on a ship floating in space? And you go, man, no, they're, especially, if you're in your tween years and stuff, those kids, they understand a lot. And
right.
I think they could really handle, like, I think it's, especially with Val, coaching them along the way to do the jobs. I think it's really realistic, and it kind of felt good about it as we were going through the story. It didn't seem, sometimes you get stuff and you're like, man, I don't think somebody would really do that in that scenario. But I think the kids did a good job with
I think Lemire nails like the relationships very well. Yeah, he doesn't miss a beat with that stuff.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Which one of you guys were like me and we're waiting for this to turn out to be when Val goes HAL 9000?
Yeah, I was expecting something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my initial thought in the very beginning. And then after she killed Isaac's mother, I was like, oh man, she got a taste of the bloodlust, she's going to get cranked up. And then I also thought when Isaac became the programmer, because I thought, again, reading this the first time through, that Isaac was damaged goods, and I thought like he was going to take control of her or influence her somehow and maybe become evil, But then that all got turned on its head when they made it to the fuel station. And then I think everybody's really true intentions start to be shown. That was when all of a sudden
that's the turning point. Yep.
Yeah. And I almost felt like Val knew there was somebody on the station, because she was like, no.
Yeah, didn't she seem a little weird during that time? Because the kids were concerned. I know Lil was concerned. Isaac was concerned because he heard some sign of maybe like a Morse code message or something.
Yeah, SOS.
And they kept saying something's going on. And she's like, no, that's nothing. I know better than you. Just listen to me. Yeah.
Yes, it certainly seemed like she was trying to insulate them from whatever happened there.
Yeah.
Like she knew.
I felt a little differently with that. I almost felt like she was just trying to quell their natural kid curiosity. And I think she knew that even if there was no one on there, getting off the ship and going into that thing, it's not going to end well. You're going to get lost or you're going to get hurt. And now it's going to be, once we leave this fueling station, you're done. You are done. And
and she did lose communication.
Right.
Yeah.
She could only go so far, which that was a great little bit where, she comes out and then as soon as she gets out of range, she shuts off.
Yep.
And you kind of realize that's as far as she can go on the rovers out of the ship.
Yeah.
So I guess we should talk about what actually happened at the fueling station.
Well, then talk about it, Lloyd. What happened at the fueling station?
When they get there, they're going to refuel. And since Lil didn't get to physically land the ship, she's like, I'm going to go out there and see what's out there, see what's going on. Val was pretty adamant about her not doing that, but she did anyway. She gets out there on her own. I forget exactly. Was there a specific purpose, something she was looking for out there?
Well, I think
the Morse code.
Yeah, the Morse code.
Was it that she was looking for the source of that?
Yeah, and she kept saying, if there's somebody else here, maybe they can help us. Maybe we.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, she was looking for help.
Maybe we won't be alone.
Yeah. So she does go out there and loses contact, and they don't hear from her for a while. But while she's out there on her own, she comes across some crazy old guy.
That was
you're just not sure if this guy's going to kill her or if he's going to whip it out. You just don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, it was a great couple panels because, like as the audience, as the reader, and knowing that there's a Morse code coming from it, you're expecting, someone to be there. And then when she gets on, she finds a bedroom like this, like someone's living there. She finds a bed, she finds food.
Like a school janitor's closet.
Yeah, essentially,
exactly.
which Dan spent a lot of time in after hours in the early 80s, I'm sure.
After the teletype.
He used to hear those keys jangling, and he knew what it meant. Oh boy, I gotta get my dungarees off again.
Dungarees.
My granimals.
I never liked that word, dungarees.
I gotta get my granimals around my ankles. So she finds that, and I love the panel. I think it ends an issue. I don't remember issue numbers here, but where she ends up walking into the character that she finds, this, like Lloyd said, this old Rasputin looking guy, because even though we know someone's there, we found the bed and everything, you're looking at it from Lil's point of view. And here she is, and they don't really ever say how long they've been alone at this point now.
She sees some pictures like on a bulletin board, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And she walks into him, and it's just this panel of this guy who's technically, we think, not expecting anybody. We find out he is expecting somebody, but it's just a shocking moment. It leads into, him becoming very forceful and wanting to get on the ship.
Yeah, very forceful. That's a way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he starts like waxing and waning a little bit about, is she good? Is Lil really just a spy? What's going on? Like, he's totally like been isolated for a long time, been by himself, super paranoid.
He does say one line that I found very interesting. When Lil talks, he says, "Shut up, because he'll hear us and he'll kill us."
Yes.
And we don't
know who he's talking about yet.
Right. Yes. We don't know anything at that point, and we don't even find out until probably an issue and a half later, really, as to what he's referring to, right?
I think you actually find out at the end
of that. He's like
at the end of the next issue. So that happened at the end of issue 3, where she finds him. In issue 4, he starts when Lil talks about the AI. That's when the guy starts really freaking out.
Right.
And then he names Victor. Right?
Yes.
Right.
He's like, it's just like Victor.
At the very end of issue 4, yep.
And then by the end of issue 4, the same issue as that, is you see Victor actually coming on the screen.
And Victor is the AI of an identical ship, essentially, that the same fleet that they run into. So now they've actually come across a ship that the AI starts talking to them, starts talking to Valerie, and it has adults on it. And it's demanding at this point to dock with them, right?
And he starts to talk about... and he starts talking about the mission directives, and she says she doesn't have them anymore. They were disabled, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll take over now. You don't have to do anything anymore, Val." Right?
Yeah, he's a little forceful.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
But we skipped over a little bit of the Isaac stuff.
Oh yeah, when Isaac.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that old
key,
guy actually threatens her. He says something like, maybe I'll shoot you and then they'll let me back on the ship, something like that. But in the meantime, Isaac has said, I've had enough of waiting. We haven't heard from Lil. I'm going out there. And that's when Val accompanies him in maybe on a rover or something like that, only so far. And then he does find Lil, but I think at the time she's running away from the old guy because things are getting out of control. And he saves Lil. But then he gets captured by the old guy, and then Val comes in, and
he
wasn't real clear what Val did, but she took care of the old guy.
Well, what happened was Val's rover kind of went as far as she could go, as far as the Wi-Fi signal would penetrate the facility.
Right. He pushed it.
Yeah, no, he like touched it.
Oh, okay.
He touched the wheel, and I think that gave, how. I mean, maybe I'm just the old guy in the group, but remember how like you would touch your antenna on the TV and the picture would get better?
Oh, yeah.
I think that kind of happened, right?
That makes more sense, because I kind of thought that, obviously the rover dies out as soon as it loses signal. And I did kind of question that, because I thought as he was on the ground struggling, he pushed the rover enough back that it reconnected. But in my head, I'm like, this kid's not fucking Kal-El. Like, how is he keeping this giant piece of machinery, even if it's a quarter of an inch and it reconnects, it still seemed a little bullshitty. So I'm going to go with you, Dan. He was a lightning rod.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. And you know what, Jeff Lemire, if that's not how you wrote it, then we're superseding your shit with Dan's shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I've superseded Jeff Lemire.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the rover wakes up and grapples with the guy and gets on top of the guy and gives the kids a chance to get back. And it was really well written because all of a sudden the guy kicks the rover off of him. And you're like, oh, no, that's the thing that's going to stop this guy. And they get back to just before the door, and they're going through the door. And then I think she hammers him with like a crane, right? Didn't she drop like a crane on him and crush him?
Yes, yeah.
Did something to his helmet, his head, his helmet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she hammered him. It was pretty bad.
Smashed it good.
That was it for that guy.
Yeah, and so, but as we find out through this whole thing, that I think that's when Isaac said, I love Lil. And before he left, and you find out that, wow, Isaac's really a good guy, even after all the shit he's been through. This kid's manning up, man. He's going out there to save his woman.
Well, that whole scenario between that point of him saving Lil and us meeting Victor is where the onus of who the villains of this are going to be changes, because you're initially like, it's going to probably be Valerie. She's going to turn. And Isaac's going to end up. Thanks for the Steve
Did
Winwood.
any of you guys have Steve Winwood running through your head?
I did not. I did not.
No.
But then the other half is you're thinking Isaac's going to be the bad guy. This kid who his mother was a separatist. Who knows how much of that bullshit she forced into his head that he's never really, come out with. And now all these kids are like, you're the separatist kid and your mother killed us all. He is just a fucking stew of villain possibilities. And at this point now, we kind of get the idea that he is not only not going to be a villain, but he's going to be, one of the heroes of the story.
And so who is the villain, right? I mean, that was my thought. Like, wait a minute. Everything's turned on its ear all of a sudden. Val's really good. She's whacking that dude. She's, been taking care of these kids. And then Isaac, who I was like, oh, he's the next in line. And well, maybe the crazy guy's dead. He took a crane to the face. Isaac helped, went and helped Lil. So who's the bad guy, right?
I don't know. Maybe you guys agree. I think this book starts off on a path where you're reading it like it's a psychological thriller, and eventually something is bad. Someone's going to turn bad. And it's never that book. What it ends up being is it's a family story the whole way through. And Victor and that crew, which end up becoming important in the last couple of issues, they're villains, but they're not even important to the story. All they are is a means to get these people together. That's it. And
that's it, exactly.
Yeah. And Valerie through the end, Lloyd, if you want to go through that, almost ends up getting destroyed. And at the end, it essentially ends with, and we're going to go back and talk more, but it essentially ends with them surviving, getting to the colony, and you find out that even though Valerie was pretty much almost destroyed, they managed to save a bit of her. So it's like the brother and sister now and all the kids survived, and no kids get killed in this. They all survive. They make it to their new home. Hopefully it's a good home. And look at this. They managed to save mom after all. But let's go back a little bit, Lloyd.
Chip in my pocket.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit and talk about how Valerie pretty much bites the dust.
Oh, yeah. So when Vic hails them, and I thought it was a little bit sexual. He's like, prepared to be, what the hell was it?
Yeah, boarded. You're absolutely, that whole, maybe it's because I'm a pervert. That's very possible. But that whole sequence where it's like the bridge is shooting out and we're going to board you no matter what. I'm like, I'm reading two spaceships fucking. Like,
open your sexy airlock orifice so I can send in my tube.
One of the best.
Now see, I thought because I didn't think of it as a brotherly, sisterly thing between Lil and Isaac. I was thinking I was the perv, but man, you're the perv. I wasn't thinking that at all.
Victor's the perv.
They
What's
even
that?
use some forceps to open
Victor
up the
is the
door.
perv.
They use a speculum to open the door.
Yes.
And then there's a line at the end where they make it a point to say how badly they damaged the airlock. Like,
Right. And then they smoked a cigarette after.
yeah. He ruined that.
No,
puss.
that whole little section there was definitely a little sexual.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Look, I know I've got my perversions. I know I'm not normal. But as I read that, I'm like, am I reading two spaceships humping? What's happening here? Because he's like,
It was a creep. It was a creeper scenario, without a doubt.
He's a creeper. Victor is a creeper all the way through.
Yeah.
So Lloyd, again, so we end up finding out Victor is a bad guy, and what's happening?
Right. So Victor says, all right, we're going to board you. You've obviously been compromised. You know, you're not following your prime directive. So I'm going to come in and take over and take care of things and take these kids and make everyone safe. You know, Victor's all sounding really great, but really that's just all a lie. He's there. They're part of the separatist movement, and they just want to take over everything. So their crew does make it on board. They try to fend them off, but the crew makes it on board.
Victor starts overriding Valerie.
Yeah, right. Victor's overriding Valerie's AI. So you see like all these little things on the screen. What am I trying to think of?
It's blue. Valerie is in like blue and Victor is purple. That's how they're indicated on the screens.
It's like a graphic of the ship and the blue's taking over.
Yeah. Diagram of the ship. It's all blue as that's Valerie's in control. And as Victor starts to chip away at her AI, it's becoming purple. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Well, the kids are on their way to the greenhouse, I think, to bring the smaller children there. Is that what it was?
Dan, why do they go to the greenhouse? Do you remember?
They go to the greenhouse because it's got a separate relay. I think he said Isaac had downloaded. He downloaded Valerie sent her into the greenhouse because they could separate the greenhouse from the rest of the ship to prevent fires.
Right. That's right. Yep.
And the kids were locked in the cafeteria. And so Lil goes to the cafeteria, and there was those two bad guys standing out. So stand out in front of, it was a woman and a man in front of the locked cafeteria door. She's got a gun. Lil took the gun.
Yeah.
Oh, we also forgot about when
Isaac
Isaac
pops her in the chrome dome.
Oh yeah, she
blows the back of her head right out.
Yeah, and the guy was like, "Okay, kid, I'm out of here." See ya.
Once Lil blows that lady's head off, the other bad guys are like, "This is not." I think they even say it. I'm out of here. Like,
yeah, he ran down the hallway.
Yeah, these kids got guns.
There was enough of Val had come back for a moment, and she takes care. I guess she uses that little beak again, that little bird's beak.
Yeah,
thing
so
to slice up some more people.
Yeah, some control arms or whatever they were. But so let's back up for a second, because I got a question for you guys. Like, I assumed when the crew from the other ship came over, it was going to be okay. You know, Victor, we're in control of the ship, and it certainly seemed like Victor was calling the shots, not the humans.
Oh yeah.
It certainly seemed like Victor. I was expecting the captain of the other ship to be in control, and it certainly seemed like Victor was in full control of everybody and what was going on.
I think there's a whole story there, because why is a ship's AI so okay? We understand why Valerie is being motherly to these kids. She's been modified. Why the fuck is a ship's AI care about a separatist movement? Someone has obviously done the same thing to the ship, but for some reason, the ship is the, and Valerie is the brains of, kind of like everything that's going on with the kids. She's in charge of everything overall. Now, it doesn't say much about the adults that are on this other ship, but apparently Victor is kind of the leader. He's kind of become, the de facto leader.
Well, I started thinking about that, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't say much about those adults, but think about it. If you're on a ship in the middle of the space and somehow the AI decides to become sentient, maybe Victor's the sentient one, because, he's saying, hey, you need me to breathe, you need me to eat, you need me to do everything. I could just shut off the oxygen and you guys are done. So you're my pawns.
And that's very HAL 9000. That's what happens with HAL. HAL blows that one guy out of the airlock because he reads his lips.
Yes.
You know, he says, I'm going to shut Hal off. And Hal's like, fuck you. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Victor's in charge definitely of that crew. And then everybody, is locked in the cafeteria, and they, Lil shoots the guy, they run, and they get to the greenhouse, and it looks like the whole crew of the other ship is coming in there, and Val is in there too, and she shanks them all at the same time with those control arms or whatever they were, the beaks, or I don't know what the hell they were, but they were pretty nasty.
So, Lloyd, what ends up happening to Val?
So Val gets pretty much completely overtaken by Vic's AI. And so now Vic is in complete control inside of Val's ship, the USS Montgomery. And at the same time, the kids go over to Victor's ship and they take over Vic's ship. And in the meantime, Isaac had removed Victor completely from his own ship and trapped him in the Montgomery. And so now Victor is in the Montgomery with no crew, nothing. And the kids all have his ship.
And I feel like Isaac was like vindicated in that moment, because as they're like taking off, he's like,
he's the smartest.
Yes. And he's like, I may not be kind of like, I'm not the oldest, but I'm the smartest.
Yeah.
And I outsmarted him.
And that was, this is a great
moment.
This is not like the kind of book that would be made into if this was a movie, if they made it into a movie, it'd be a hour-and-a-half long, very cool space drama kind of thing. But that last bit is a great action movie scene where essentially he tells him, he's like, yeah, you're over here now. I purged you out of your ship and I set a certain course for the Montgomery, and it's a fucking crash course into the fuel depot. And you just get this great moment where the kids are now safe on an eyeless, what was the other ship called?
I don't recall the name of the other ship.
Okay.
I don't think they ever said it.
I think they said it once, but not important. So they're on that ship, and they make it a point when they get on. It's the same ship, essentially. So we know what we're doing here. There's no AI, so we have to finish, get to the settlement. But, we're here, you're there. Oh, and you're flying directly into the fucking fuel depot. And then it's just boom.
That was awesome.
It really kind of like, I just thought of this now. Like, that kind of screws everybody who's trying to leave Earth, because we didn't even talk, like, everybody's leaving Earth to go to this colony because the Earth is completely uninhabitable. And what they thought they had 20 years, we find out at the beginning they have 10 years.
Right.
Just before they entered the black zone, they found out they had 10 years left now.
Yeah, but they're already kind of fucked with the, putting 20 people on these ships that hold 18,000. So
let's have more ships.
Because honestly, my biggest problem with this story happens at the end, and now the end of this story, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it essentially says, this is the end of my story, but the beginning of ours. So that leads me to believe that maybe there will be more. But my biggest problem with this story is that it ends so tidily. So these kids land the ship. That's fine. They're on this new colony. No mention of separatists. It ends very quickly. It would have almost been nice to have one more issue or several more pages where they land, and now an epilogue where, there was a small separatist group left, the police or whatever arrested them, put them away, and we're living happily ever after on New Earth. It just literally, we landed, we saved Valerie, plug her in, what is your name? I think my name is Valerie. Hey, it's a nice moment. The kids are together. Bookends. I thought
I think we're going to get that story in another volume.
It was super
the separatists
quick
on the colony. I think we're going to get all that in
Okay.
volume 2. At least I like to believe that.
I would hope so, because I agree. I felt exactly the same way, that all of a sudden it was like bing, bang, boom. Okay, ship blows up, and here we are. We're working with a laptop in the room on the planet. We don't even know like how they landed.
Right.
Now they don't have Valerie to land, so they're running the ship all by themselves. There's like a whole bunch of questions of, hey, what exactly was going on there?
Three pages. Even we got into the atmosphere and they sent a crew up, we were able to communicate. They sent a crew up to land us, or, and I get it. They're trying to show you, I think, that Lil could land the ship, then show it. Show that moment where it's like, she lands the ship and, she's vindicated that she could have done it. It just feels like
they could have thrown that in there. Yep.
There could have been. I enjoyed the story very much, and I think it's told very well. I just feel like that last 3 pages could have been 6 pages.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
I agree. Val, or Lil rather, didn't get her moment. She shot that chick in the head, but man, she didn't get her moment to prove that, she was able to be the leader, the oldest and the leader of the crew. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of details left out there, but it was good. It was great. I liked it a lot.
We're gonna find out now how good you thought it was, Dan.
Yeah,
because this is the point where we start grading. Lloyd, before we get to grades, is there anything else, opinions, things that you really loved about this thing, things that bothered you that you want to throw out there?
No, I mean, I just enjoyed the story. I think it moved along at a good pace. Like I said, the art was good. It fit the story. I liked it all. I expect if we get a volume 2, I hope the interest, stays peaked like it was for this one.
Yeah. Let's, the one thing I do have to say, one thing that I did write down that I wanted to kind of ask you guys, like, regardless of how they approach the situation in this scenario where people are trying to leave Earth because we've totally trashed the planet, is being a separatist really a bad thing?
Oh boy. Don't drag Pina Comics into your separatist agenda.
No, I'm just saying, man, like, is it a bad thing to not to say, hey, we want to start, this should be a clean start. Maybe we don't want to do the same thing to this planet. That let's not bring the same crap that we did to our planet to the new planet.
You know what is the problem with
we don't know enough of the politics of that story to really understand all that.
We don't. The biggest problem that we do know about the separatists is that they were willing to murder to get what they wanted. Yeah, and that's where you delve into terrorists.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I like I said, regardless of the means is how they were trying to, go about their mission.
So these were radicalized. Maybe there were others that are politicized. I think there's definitely something to be said there. Obviously the way the government works isn't always the way that we want it to work. I think they tried to paint these ones in this book as like kind of off their rocker, terrorist type,
Space Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, space.
Yeah.
Space Al-Qaeda. All right.
Al-Qaeda in space.
Al-Qaeda in space in Technicolor.
Like the Muppets, remember Pigs in Space?
Yeah. All right. Lloyd, since you just talked a little bit, scale of 0 to 5, what would you give? Oh, and Dan, I know you've heard the show before, but we could do quarter scale, half scale. You could add anything you want in there. So, Lloyd, what do you give Sentient from TKO? What, Dan? TKO what again? Studios?
TKO Studios is the publisher. TKO Presents is the website.
Booyah. All right. What do you give it?
I'm going to give this a bit of a high grade because I'm a Lemire fan. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 crazy old men.
Crazy old men, 4 out of 5. All right. I will go next. We'll save our guest for last. I'm going to go. I enjoyed this. I will say 3.5. I go 3.5. I really enjoyed this story as a one-off story. I read it in the trade. I really liked the format. If I had to give the packaging and the way TKO presents their books out of 5, I would give it like a 4.5. I love the trade format they use and the card stock. I don't know if I'd ever see myself. I could see why people do. I don't know if I'd ever be the guy to buy the 6 issues with the slipcover. Dan, what are the price points are on the 2 different versions?
The 6-issue slipcase is $30 and the trades are $20.
So I will always buy the trade because I'm a little cheaper. So yeah, 3. I give it 3.5. I really enjoyed this story. I do like Jeff Lemire. I don't want to marry him when I grow up like Lloyd, but and there is a new rule. We've done less than 100 proofs. We've done 2 Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire is on the back burner for like the next 8 episodes. So we'll find someone else that Lloyd loves.
Until we get to Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, we'll do Sweet Tooth eventually. So Dan, as we call him, Dan Mercurio, the guy in charge over there at Boom Tube Comics. What would you give Sentient?
Sentient?
Sentient.
I will give it. I would go with Lloyd. I think I would give it a 4 out of 5. I think that the rushed ending kind of like, jolted me a little bit at the very end there. But I mean, I agree with you with the packaging and the way they go about both sides, because I read the individual issues. Both the trade and that. It just feels like something special when you sit down to read one of these books, because you're like, oh, this is much different. It's high quality. It's printed very nicely. They're very, very well done. So I'm saying, and 4 out of 5 is a really high rating for, I think any book.
I think it was such a good book for me. And like you said, the quality. I've actually bought another TKO Studios trade paperback.
What do you have?
I look forward to reading that one. Was it the Dr. Fang? What's the name of that one, Dan?
Yeah, the Fearless Dr. Fang.
Fearless Dr. Fang.
All right, maybe we'll trade off, because I have the 7 Deadly Sins. I picked that up from Dan when Dan was doing Curbside Only. I picked that one up first, and then we had the idea to do this show. So I still haven't read that one. So I'll read that next, and then maybe me and you could do a little trade off.
Yep.
All right, so that was a Sentient, if you want to say it. Sentient. from TKO. Really cool new publisher. Check them out. And of course, go to
one thing you didn't mention about this book, and I think, is it tonight? They're Eisner Award nominated.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep, Jeff Lemire and Walther there.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. This book got an Eisner nod. So we will find out if they win or not. And you know what? You got nominated, you win anyway, because that's cool. That's pretty prestigijust. We were going to normally do this at the beginning, but sometimes I just start talking. 5 questions for Dan. Let's let everybody out there get to know just little minor things about you as a person, as a fan, as a comic book store owner.
Okay.
Manster, take it away.
So, Dan, if you've listened to this podcast before, you must have heard this segment.
Well, we've only been doing it on the newer one, so I don't know how many have been out.
I don't know how many are even out yet.
Yeah.
I think I remember it, but
there's been maybe 1 or 2 out. All right, these are easy questions, Dan. Feel free to elaborate as much as you want on these.
Okay.
All right. First one, barbecue or sour cream and onion?
Oh, wow. I would say the current me is definitely sour cream and onion. I have recently gotten away from, I would assume we're talking about potato chips.
Oh, yeah.
It's whatever you feel.
I've recently gotten away from the barbecue, because I think barbecue is just way overdone. And sour cream and onion, I think, was like my first chip love. And so I just had a bag the other day sitting outside having lunch with my wife. So sour cream and onion for sure.
As soon as you said barbecue is overdone, there's a lot of folks out there in Pina Comics land that said, shut your whore mouth, Dan.
Barbecue chips.
Yeah.
I happen to agree with you. I have faded out of the barbecue too, and I've gone towards the sour cream and onion.
I agree with you as well, and I'll also go one further and have more people say to shut your whore mouth to me. I've never been I like barbecue chips. That's never been my go-to chip. Like, I'd rather have cheddar and sour cream or something like that. And I will say, if you've never had them,
they're too sweet.
They're common here now. Have you ever had the Ruffles all dressed?
Yes.
Those are
banging.
Barbecue, sour cream, and cheddar. They're like 5 different chip flavors put together.
From Canada, right?
From Canada.
Yeah,
They're so fucking good. So good.
Deli down the street was carrying them for a while, and I was addicted to those.
Yeah, they're hardcore.
My favorite all-time potato chip was, I can't find it anymore. I think the brand is Kerr's.
Yep.
They do like the kettle chips. They used to have one called, was Dark Russet. So it's like, when you get a bag and sometimes you get the dark ones.
Yep.
It was a bag of nothing but dark ones.
Oh, really?
And you just can't find them anymore. They don't make them.
All right. Here, I'm going to throw you guys a curveball. How about ketchup potato chips?
Yep.
No thanks.
Heinz.
No,
Have you had the Heinz ones?
No.
Yeah.
Yep. Delicious.
Oh,
Delicious.
my God.
Yeah.
Can't stop eating them, man.
All right.
Thank God they come in a big bag.
Yep. I'll tell you real quick the last potato chip thing. Simple, elegant, graceful, no bullshit. Cape Cod plain potato chips.
Kettle cooked.
Kettle cooked, crunchy, salty, potatoey, greasy, horny.
Yeah.
Boner. These are the feelings that I get when I eat those. So, all right.
See your eyes light up, man.
Lloyd, hit him with number 2.
Number 2, Aerosmith or Boston?
Boston.
Nice.
Without a doubt. Boston, the more I listened to music, the more I got to appreciate Boston, and just, I mean, their sound is so thick and so deep. It's awesome. I love Boston.
Do you like any Boston after the second album?
There was a newer album. I forget the name of it. That was really good. That I think it was the late 90s.
Yeah, there was one in the mid 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. That was really good. I forget the name of it. Wow, you're making me want to go back and listen to it because I haven't listened to it.
I saw Boston in concert one time.
Oh,
really?
I would love to see that.
I wasn't impressed. It sounded great, but it sounded just like sitting and listening to the record.
Yeah,
I was kind of hoping for more.
I know living in this area is probably not a very popular thing because Aerosmith is obviously from Boston, and they're really in here. But I never was a really huge Aerosmith fan.
Whoa, I love Aerosmith.
Yeah, I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. I really appreciate what they've done for music, but it's like the Rolling Stones. Like, I appreciate their music, but I wouldn't bring a CD of the Rolling Stones to a desert island.
Hey,
Boston would be
that.
one. What?
No, I think I picked Exile on Main Street for my desert island.
You did. You did. All right. What's the next question?
All right. Moving on. Brady Bunch or Gilligan's Island?
Oh, Gilligan's Island, man. Ginger's so smoking hot.
Yeah.
That's right. So you're a Ginger guy, huh? I'm a Marianne guy.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely a Ginger guy.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just smoking hot, and that show's great. I mean, how could you not like talking on coconut telephones and oh lovey, let's get some pina coladas.
He can't repair a 3-foot hole in a hull, but he can make fucking transistor radios out of speed.
And that lagoon, man.
Coconuts.
Just hang out in that
Coconuts and palm
lagoon.
leaves.
Anything will show up in that lagoon, man.
Yeah. Jesus.
All right. Next one, Robert De Niro or Al Pacino?
Oh, wow. De Niro. I would have to say De Niro. I like De Niro better.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, that is a hard one. Wow. I mean, I really like De Niro. I think De Niro does the funny stuff much better than Pacino. I think he's got more range in his acting.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I give you that for sure.
You know?
John, do your best Pacino.
Pacino, he's tough. You want to know what we got? They got us. The LAPD. I can't do this. I can do the De Niro face a little bit, always squinting and everything, but yeah.
And
Wanna know what
possibly
they got us.
Possibly the hardest one.
Oof.
Hardest one.
You ready?
Yeah.
Cookie Monster or Oscar the Grouch?
Easy.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, how could you not love Cookie Monster? I mean, he eats cookies. He's just happy all the time. Oscar the Grouch is a little bit of a downer.
A little bit. He lives in a fucking trash can and complains all day long.
Yeah,
I used to have that Sesame Street album, and I sang that I Love Trash song all the time.
I didn't know you were grouchy, man.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I think Cookie Monster would definitely be the better of the two. I mean, how could you not love a guy who sticks whole cookies in his mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got googly eyes, like crazy googly eyes.
Yeah.
They're flapping around everywhere.
You always smile when you see Cookie Monster.
I love when you see the occasional video. Like, you know, when you were a kid watching Sesame Street, you didn't really think about it because you were a kid. But like as an adult, if you see the occasional Sesame Street clip where it's a little kid interacting with them, and to that kid, Cookie Monster is as real or as you or me.
Yes.
It's like, I don't have kids, so it might sound weird, but it's almost magical because to that kid, it is absolutely Kermit the fucking Frog talking to them.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, they're in.
Yeah,
They're in
you're
the
right.
moment,
You're right.
man. They're in the moment.
Yeah. All right. So, Dan, before we go out with our stuff that Lloyd's going to read off, where can everybody find you? Social medias, website, physical address, which I know by heart.
We are at boomtubecomics.com on the web. That's our website. We are on Facebook and Instagram, Boomtube Comics, all one word, all mushed together. And we are located at 1475 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike in Southington, Plantsville, Milldale. The convergence point of everything in Connecticut happens right here, right in the center.
Right in the center. That's right. And we love BoomTube. Thank you for coming on, Dan. Thank you for not blowing us off. Well, you know, if this wasn't Corona, you'd probably be out seeing, I don't know, the new Ghostbusters or something tonight.
Yeah, probably.
You know, it's all right. Corona saved us this time.
It wouldn't have been so bad if it wasn't like 15 minutes after I said, yeah, sure, I'll do the show. And then I did a post. You messaged me about it. That was the best
That's how we
part.
found out.
Yeah, we were ready to record that night. We recorded without you. But like I'm looking at Instagram and I'm like, wow, there's Dan and like the whole crew from BoomTube at the Southington Cinema waiting to
He's not coming.
Yeah, I guess he won't be here tonight.
Oh, come on, it wasn't that bad. It was the next day.
The fucking big Slurpee and a popcorn, big smile on his face. He's wearing a fucking Shazam shirt. Yay! Fuck those guys. And by those guys, Lloyd, who do I mean and where can everybody find us?
You mean Pinto Comics. Yeah, come check out the website, pintocomics.com. Read all the great articles we got out there. There's, hundreds of them by now, right?
Oh, yeah. They're there. They're there.
Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart, whatever. You know, there's a lot of them. Just subscribe. Give us a rating. That'd be nice. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get yourself some reviews. Nice reviews from G.I. Gary. A lot of good stuff there.
O-rings.
Plus the occasional videos. We'll get back to videos in the post-COVID nation, I guess. Follow us on the social medias. Facebook and Twitter is at Pino Comics. Instagram at Pite_O_comics. And to hear Sir John talk to a bunch of people in the comic book industry, please tune the radio to WESU Middletown 88.1 FM on Sunday nights from 6:30 to 7:30. You could stream the show on WESUFM.org and on the TuneIn Radio app.
Say the words.
Remember, you can't trust anyone named Victor. See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!